Welcome to Perception versus Reality, Sports and Culture, where we cover sports from a different angle and bring you topics most podcasts and radio shows will not cover. I'm your host, Rodney 870, and welcome my co-hosts, Neely, Mr. Sports IQ, Lemuel, aka Limwood, and Stanley, known on Instagram as Third World 870. Please enjoy this PvR clip and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Welcome to another edition of PvR Sports and Culture. Today I'm by myself. This is a special edition. I wanted to discuss the death of Nipsey Hussle, a rapper born in Crenshaw. That's south part of LA. He was a member of the Rolling 60s, a Crips organization or gang, whatever you want to call it. Nipsey was a really good rapper. I didn't listen to him when he was doing his mixtapes, and I wouldn't say I wasn't a fan because I really didn't know much about him. I'm not a mixtape type listener, or I guess you could say a mixtape type consumer. I have friends and cousins who love to go to the underground and listen to rappers who are not really mainstream. I'm more the type of guy that waits for a rapper to become mainstream, but really didn't start listening to him until he became mainstream. So I'm that type of guy. But when he dropped his album, Victory Lap, in February of last year, I actually picked up, my title and downloaded it and listened to it, and I really liked the song. I liked the song Rap Niggas, so to say, and Young Niggas. That was my favorite one. I love those two records. There was a couple more records on there, tracks on there I really liked, but those are the two that I saved in my playlist that I usually play when I'm in my car, and I listen to those quite often. And Nipsey, he was more, and believe it or not, at the age of 32, that was his debut album, and it did pretty good. Topped at number 4 on the U.S. charts, and number 3 on the U.S. rap charts. So it was a pretty good album. A lot of streams. Before that, he released 9 mixtapes between 2005 2014. For his first album, or his debut album, he was nominated for a Grammy. Didn't win, but he was definitely nominated, and so they would always go on behind his name, Grammy nominated rapper. This is a podcast where we normally talk about sports, but we do have the culture part. And culture can be anything from hip-hop culture to country music culture to, I guess blues culture, whatever you want to call it, because whatever affects sports and however sports tie into other cultures that affect us, our community, I want to talk about. I'm not a political person. I'm not going to get on here and talk politics. I'm not going to get on here and talk about, what's going on in the news every day. But this right here, kind of touched me, and I felt like I needed to, put something out covering this. With Nipsey, he was the type of guy where I feel like a lot of athletes can learn from. A lot of other entertainers can learn from. Nipsey, he believed in helping his community, and that was a huge part for me. I didn't really know Nipsey music, but I knew he was dating Lauren London because, everybody was, the media was covering it, and anytime they would have some type of event, him and Lauren London would be there together, and I knew her from movies and shows, and so she was popular, and I knew he was a rapper, but I didn't really know his music because, like I said earlier, I'm not a mixtape guy. But I became a fan when I found a clip online, and in this clip, they was talking to young Nipsey, and they was asking him, like, hey, you don't have the flash, you don't have the chains, you don't really have anything like the other rappers, and he said, those are liabilities. And he caught the interviewer off guard. He was like, what? Say that again? Said, those are liabilities. He said, when I make my money, I want to take my money, I want to invest in assets. And I want to invest in things that's going to bring me back money, or as they call it, mailbox money while I'm asleep. So Nipsey, with that clip, I started to become interested in this guy and try to understand more about him, where he's from, what's his background, is he just talking the talk or is he walking the walk? And I would say that he truly is walking a walk. Well, he was. And with his name and what he's done, he will continue to walk the walk. Even though he's dead today, he's still going to be walking that walk because of the things that he put in place and the people that he put in places and the money that he's going to continue to generate. Is going to continue to go to those programs and help those programs out. It may be for only 5 years, it may be for 10 years. Somebody made his daughter, his fiance, Lauren London, his mother, father might take the ball, brother, and run with it for a lifetime. So we don't know how long his legacy he left us is gonna, last, or how long it's gonna stretch throughout the years as far as what he started. I would say at that time when I saw that clip, I wanted to know more about this Nipsey guy. Like, what is this guy about? Like, is he really about this? Is he really about helping this community? Because, when you look up today, you see the Young Thugs and the Uzi Verts and the Futures and the Kanye West, people like that who seem to only care about themselves and their money and not really the community. As long as they get their money, as long as they can wear their jewelry, as long as they could throw their money around and show you what they have, that's all they care about. Even black youngster guys like that. And, as an older guy, I don't really respect that. Because, and I get it, they're young. Because when I was young, I probably was into that shit too. So I'm not going to sit here and talk shit about those guys or try to, diminish those guys' character. Because they're young. But at the same time, I feel like youth is an excuse. When God has blessed you with more is expected. Like LeBron James couldn't act 21 at 21. He had to be a CEO of his own brand, or they wouldn't have the money and the revenue and the stretch and the power they have today. Michael Jackson couldn't be 20 at 20. He had to be the CEO. He had to be the CEO of his brand, of the Jackson 5, so they could continue to grow and make money. So he had to grow it fast. So what you see nowadays is you see a lot of rappers, entertainers, athletes care about their wealth, their jewelry, not really caring about the community. On Thanksgiving, go give turkeys back and say they're doing something because they gave turkeys back and they make millions of dollars a year. And I'm not judging anyone. Hey, if you give away a turkey, you fed somebody for that day. But I always make the joke that I make enough money to take $1,000 and go buy, I guess, let's say 100 or so turkeys and go stand out by a homeless shelter or something, or go to, some business and just give them away free. Hell, I could put 2 or 3 of my buddies together and we could go give out 500 turkeys. No problem. Neither one of us would even miss the money. And not trying to act like, I'm on the wealth level of those guys, but I'm just showing you with the amount of money I make, I can do that. And those guys make 1,000 times the money that I make. So you expect more. So when I look at some of these athletes, like a Floyd Mayweather, who made over $1 billion in his career. His last fight, he made $300 million with Conor McGregor. The fight before that against Andre Berto, he made $35 million in a fight that didn't even do as good. The fight before that, he made $275 million against Manny Pacquiao. The 2 fights before that, he made a total of $100 million in 2 fights against Maidana. Against Canelo, he made $80 million. Against Miguel Cotto, he made $65 million. Against Sugar Shane Mosley, another $50 million. And I see a guy like him, and he's worth $300-400 million. And I'm not telling him how to spend his money. I'm not telling him how to give away his money. But when you watch this guy on TV buying random females $15,000 shoes and $15,000 Hermes bags. I hope I said that shit right, because my wife gonna slap me because I never get those name brands right correct. Or you see him on a video going to Gucci, and when Gucci make the sweater that symbolizes blackface and something that has affected the black community over the years, then this guy decides that, hey, I don't give a fuck, I'm just gonna go in here and spend $40,000, $50,000 with this company. I'm not gonna even take out the time to show them what they're doing is kind of messed up. I'm not even gonna try to waste my time doing it. Those are the kind of things you look at. If Floyd Mayweather had Nipsey Hussle's heart and his mindset and his thought process, imagine the type of people he could affect. See, Nipsey Hussle made enough money to affect his community in Crenshaw, to build a shopping center up where he used to sell drugs in front of, and allegedly, and used to hustle in front of with his brother, selling CDs and selling t-shirts and stuff. This shopping center was dying, and he went in and he put in he started his Marathon clothing store there, and started a couple of more businesses within that shopping center, which rejuvenated the shopping center, where they pretty much was able to lease every spot in that shopping center to give the people in Crenshaw somewhere to go in the shop without having to go out of their own community and spend their dollars in an Asian community or a white community or any other community, where their dollar could cycle within that community and provide people within that community jobs. And that's what he was able to do with his money. Now, I don't know how much money Nipsey Hussle made, but I could almost put my life on it that he didn't make Floyd Mayweather money, not even close. But with his mindset, he was able to give that blueprint in that small community. Now imagine if athletes and entertainers and these guys who make these millions just took his blueprint and say, hey, I'm going to go in this community, I'm going to start up a couple of stores, I'm going to give people somewhere to go shop within that community, I'm going to hire the people from this community, and I'm going to try to make it grow. Is it going to be hard? Yes. The one thing I hate is I hate when black people talk about how, well, I hate to shop with black people because black people don't know how this, they don't ever have that. I mean, I have that everywhere I go. I go to Walmart, they ain't ever got anything. Hell, I went to Krispy Kreme's 3 weeks ago and they didn't even have donut holes. Hell, I went back over there to check and see if they had donut holes. Like a week later, they still didn't have donut holes. And that's a white establishment. So with Nipsey, when we talk about sports and culture, I wish, because our athletes have a reach that some of our entertainers don't have, as far as like rappers and things like that, because you don't see Will Smith every day. We didn't know Will Smith's personality until he started doing this crazy shit on Facebook. We just knew he was Will Smith on the movies. You don't really see Denzel out showing his personality. You don't really see Jay-Z out really showing his personality and where you feel that you know this guy from a personal level, the way you do with athletes, the way you know who KD is. KD is a sensitive guy, but he's lethal on the court. He comes off as normal. LeBron James is a guy that love to dance, that love to play, but he handles his business off the court like nobody else, like nobody's business. He's grown his wealth from, I think 3 to 4 times his earnings since he's joined the NBA. So we feel like we know these guys, and they have a stronger reach than most entertainers, because you have little white kids, little brown kids, as well as little black kids going to the games and idolizing these athletes. They're almost like superheroes. An actor, you see Jamie Foxx, he's 5'9", 5'10", just like the normal person. Nothing special about him, just fucking can read lines. So if athletes did this, not only could they get the backing of the African American community, but they could also get the backing from white liberal community. Maybe not the white conservatives, because they look at athletes like, oh, you guys make too much money. You guys are just crybabies. Just shut up and dribble. Just shut up and don't play. They look at them like that. But you could get the backing of white liberals, white Jews, to support you, because believe it or not, to turn this thing around for our community, you need people like that. We can't do this alone, whether we think it or not. I know a lot of people say, well, black people should spend with black people and that'll work, and black people should do this with black people and we'll be okay. Like, no, that's not enough. I'm sorry to tell you. Black people should start their own business. Well, if every black person start their own business, who's gonna spend money? You need blacks to start big companies. You need blacks to be CEOs. You need blacks to be welders. You need blacks to be electricians. You need blacks to be machinists. You need black people to work at these Fortune 500 companies as quality engineers, as mechanical engineers, as corporate attorneys. You need black people to be in every aspect of America, of American culture, to succeed. You also need help from other groups. And that's why I feel with Nipsey Hussle, if he talked to the average white person, they're not going to know who he is. They see the tattoos all over his face and they hear like, oh, he's a gangster rapper. You might have some that would do business with him, but most are going to walk out the other door. We know that. But what he was able to do on a smaller level from his community, I feel like rappers can do that. T.I. can do that in Atlanta. Young Thug can do that in Atlanta. Chief Keef, I hope I said his name right, can do that in Chicago. Kanye West has a reach where he could do that in LA, Chicago, different places like that. Jeezy can do that in Atlanta. You know, Raekwon could do that in New York. So these rappers can do it on a local level to help their communities. But the community has to back them. You can't gun down your people in your community. But to relate this back to sports, I feel like Nipsey had the right mindset, but he didn't have a reach. If you put his mindset in most of our athletes, with their reach and their invincibility to the other races, to the kids that's coming up, you could definitely create a strong foundation for our community for the next couple of generations, no doubt. And I think if we did that, that would secure our share of America or the United States for the next 200-300 years. But if we don't do that, we might sentence ourselves. Well, we'll be dead and gone. Anybody that listen to this 100 years from now be dead and gone, won't be on the face of this earth. But our kids will, and our grandkids will, and our ancestors will. And if we don't do that as a community, if we don't have the people who are successful to step up big and pull the ones up that's not successful and have the mindset of a Nipsey Hussle, then we could sentence our ancestors to a lifetime of a working class citizen or below that. And what I mean by that is, at some point, America is going to mature like other countries. And when America matures and there's no growth for just anybody to become a billionaire or millionaire, then the ones who have it, like these families you see, like the Hiltons, the Trumps, all these people, they're going to start holding on to their wealth and they're going to buy off politicians. And it's going to become more where you're starting to see it now, where the top 5 to 10% of the wealthy people has just as much wealth as the bottom 50% of Americans. And right now, black community as a whole, as much as we feel like we're doing good, as much as we feel like we have money and we're not, you know, it's almost like we're not picking cotton, so we're good, you know, or they're not banging in our heads, so we're good. We could go and sit in any restaurant, so we're good. No, if you really think about it, if you really look at the nuts and bolts, black African Americans only have 2.6% of the nation's wealth. 2.6%. That equates to you can't hire anybody, you can't build any wealth, you can't buy land. It's a lot of things you can't do. If we had the Nipsey Hussle mindset, where athletes like Floyd Mayweather, Russell Wilson, Shaquille O'Neal, Charles Barkley, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Jay-Z, guys like that who could put together billions of dollars and use the Nipsey Hussle blueprint, they would be able to build corporations instead of like Nipsey Hussle did on a smaller level, where he took a shopping center, built it up, and was able to employ people from the community and black people and give them management positions where they could build their management experience. He was able to go and buy real estate and help his own family get rich as well as. So if you could do that on a bigger scale, and that's what I'm getting at, and that's what this podcast today is about. That's what I'm trying to cover here. You could think about that on a bigger scale. If the athletes could just put that mindset in themselves instead of worrying about, oh, I got 20 cars, oh, I got. I'm not telling the guy don't enjoy life. Enjoy your money, enjoy life. But you was given this for a reason, and we have an opportunity today where every culture, every community is willing to pay $300 to $1,000. to watch a black guy dunk a basketball in a hole. They're willing to pay $500 to $1,000 to watch black men go out on a field of grass and tackle each other and knock the shit out of each other for 60 minutes every Sunday. They're willing to pay $1,000 to have a singer come, well, $100,000 to have a singer come and do a couple of songs at their concerts or at their parties and make money. We're in the golden. We're not in the golden age as far as wealth, because the last 30 years we've blown our wealth. But we're in the golden age now where we're starting to get it. You see the Carmelo Anthony's and Lala's, the LeBron and Savannah, the Jay-Z and Beyonce's, the Nas's of the world, and people like that. KD focus on building wealth. So we're getting it. But as black people, these athletes, you can't build wealth and create your family wealth like the Michael Jordans, and then go and live in your house in the Hamptons and not come back and help the black community. We can't afford that, because we're in a situation where 70% of corporate black people are only hired like 8 to 10% in corporate companies. In Silicon Valley, I think the company with the highest percentage of black employees is like 9% at Facebook, if I'm not mistaken. If you think about it, so when we look at this thing, your company will say, hey, we're 30%, we have 30% diversity. And black people look at that like, oh, well, yeah, that's good, man. They're diversity. But what they don't tell you is that white women are considered minorities. Asians, Hispanics, Colombians, Nigerians. So we have to understand those statistics, and we can't move forward, and we can't have this Nipsey Hussle mindset until we understand those statistics. And what I see from a lot of black people is we want to act like, hey, we doing good. Hey, we straight, man. Black people are good. And that's not the case. And that's why Nipsey Hussle mindset and what he was doing and how he was walking, he was talking and walking. It's so important that the athletes out there latch on to what he was doing and try to mimic and model and benchmark and do the same thing that he was doing. Like if you look at, and I'll use LeBron James as another example because he's one of the first athletes I saw that went black on everything. He hired his black friend Maverick as his business partner. He hired his black friend Rich as his agent. He hired Randy as his pretty much the CEO of LeBron James brand, like just overall. And then he has a host of other black people behind the scenes that run stores and different, companies that he has. If you look at that, so you have LeBron, who's worth $400 million. Now you have Maverick, who's his own guy, who's running Uninterrupted and Spring Hill Entertainment. He's big in Hollywood now. He set LeBron James up with a deal with Blaze Pizza, where now they own like 15 to 20 Blaze restaurants, in which Maverick is a part owner in that. So now LeBron worth $400 million, but now Maverick probably worth 10 to 15 million. Now you got Rich, who is an agent and started his own agency, and he manages over $1 billion in contracts. So now he's worth 10 to 15 million. Then you got Randy, who's the CEO of LeBron James, just everything. So I guarantee he's worth $5 to $10 million. So now you have not only LeBron, who is worth $4 to $5 to $600, $700 million. You have his partners, who are now young African Americans who have $10 to $15 million in companies in the palm of their hand, so they can go and hire other black CEOs, other black executives, other black COOs, other black marketing managers to give them the experience. Rich can go hire more black agents to get them to manage black athletes and grow their own CIAA corporation. Where in 20 years you can see Rich Paul, Clutch Sports being worth $10 billion, $5 billion, $1 billion or something like that, where he has 15 to 20 black agents, where at CIAA you would have never seen that. So when you start down at the grassroots and you're not investing in your own people, you're not building with your own community, you're not only thing we're doing is spending money, and you're not creating anything, then you don't give us the opportunity to become the Mark Zuckerberg, or to become the Warren Buffett, or to become the Scott Boland, who is the biggest agent in Major League Baseball, who makes $50 million a year just representing people and getting 3%. But if you do what Nipsey Hussle did on a bigger level, you buy up corporations, not small businesses in the hood, but corporations. And let's say you have 20 executives, and out of them 20 executives, 8 are black. So guess what? When it's time to donate millions of dollars to colleges, you're going to have somebody that raise their hand and say, hey, out of that $10 million, why don't we give 2 to HBCUs? Hey, with our recruiting plan, I don't see any HBCUs on here that we're going to be recruiting for engineers, for quality managers, for this and that. Now you got somebody in the room that can say, hey, let's, instead of recruiting 20, dominant white schools, how about let's take 5 of those slots and go to 5 HBCUs and recruit from those areas. And then when we get that Nipsey Hussle, and we get that LeBron James and that, Colin Kaepernick, we can lend our support, because we can get together then and say, hey, Nipsey Hussle just bought up this shopping center, and he's bringing traffic here because people just want to come and see him and see his store and what he's doing. Hey, let's get 10 other black people together and buy this location, these two spaces, and put a restaurant in one, and maybe a cell phone store or something in the other. Not saying that's what we would do, but those are the kind of things you could do when you invest your money. You save your money right. So now you're helping them help us, and that those dollars are cycling in the black community. So it's going to take more than just an athlete to do it. I get there, but I'm just saying, looking at what Nipsey Hussle did and what his mindset was and how he planned to do things, he was amazing at what he did. And I hope his blueprint sparks something in these athletes and entertainers. And I'll give an example. But now it's getting harder, and the American dream is harder and harder to achieve from the average person if you're not born in that type of situation. So basically what they're telling you is where in the past, in the early 1800s to like the 1830s, 40s or whatever, the 1930s or 40s or whatever, you could like come here, save your money, invest your money, and then over time you become a billionaire because there was so many things that was growing. So you could just invest in these companies and grow. You could go start you a company and nobody else was doing it. It could grow. You could go sell this or that. And it was like it wasn't a lot of people doing it. But now the country is starting to mature where it's not going to be as many opportunities to go from the bottom to the top unless you could sing, you could dance, you could play sports, or you smart as hell, or you're a hell of an investor. To become really big, you know, real estate, a lot of people go into real estate, buying real estate and doing stuff like that, and that's good too. So you get money in there. So what I'm saying is the opportunities are going to become slim over time. Not in our lifetime. We'll be dead and gone when this situation happens, but maybe in the next 2 or 3 generations, 100 years from now. And we want our ancestors and our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren to have their share of America. So when it does mature, we're good because we've already claimed our share. We don't have 2% of the wealth. We have maybe 15%, 16%. So we could hire and fire each other. We won't get stuck. But and I'm not saying this is 100% sure. This is just my opinion on what I've read and what I've studied. If we don't do something, then you're going to see the black community become a permanent working class. And what I mean by that is that, you know, you don't have anybody to hire. You don't have anybody to in powerful positions. So you don't control any wealth. So the people who control the wealth are going to continue to hire people that look like them. And then what you have to do is just work to earn your money. And I'm not saying anything is wrong with that. Everybody should have to work to earn their money. But we do want our share of the wealth. Because you know your community is in a bad situation overall. We got to stop looking at everything from this small picture. Like, well, me and my friends doing good, so black people doing good. No, you have to look at everything from a big picture. If you got 45 million black people and they tell you that 30 million of them are living check to check at or below the poverty line, you're not doing good. I couldn't go to work and manage my fleet of locomotives by telling my boss, hey, I want to spend $1 million to correct this issue because 10 of my 1,800 locomotives had failed fuel pumps. They would probably fire me because I'm wasting the company money because I'm going after something that's probably a one-off. And it's not an issue. Now, if I could go to them and show them like, hey, we have 1,800 locomotives and I've had 400 failures in the last 90 days from this one particular issue. Maybe it's a traction motor issue. We need to go and investigate this, do some teardown, spend some resources and understand what's going on. Because if we don't spend $1 million now, it's going to cost us $10 million 3 years from now. And they're like, okay, that's great. That's what we pay you to do. I feel like in the black community, we see 10 people out of 1 million doing good and we say, oh, the whole black community. No, look at it for real. Get outside of your box. Look at what's going on. Look at what we're seeing. And understand that, hey, we're not doing as good as we thought. But we do have the opportunity to do good because guess what? America still is a land of opportunity. And we still can make money. And we still, you know, our unemployment rate is low. Although wages haven't gone up, but we're getting employment, we're getting jobs. Now we got to work on the wage part, the building wealth part, all that part. So we have to do that ourselves. We can't look at the white man and blame the white man for that. That is on us. Then we look at our leaders, our black athletes, our black leaders, our politicians, and we challenge them. And all of this comes from the Nipsey Hussle playbook. Because guess what he was going to do today? He was going to sit down with the police department in LA, the LAPD, and discuss how to help slow down and stop gang violence. because he was tired of people getting killed. So he was utilizing his resources in his community, all of them. And he even had Jay-Z to come down as more of a presence and more of a reach, as more of a powerful person. Whereas we look at somebody like Kanye and he say, well, you know, I'm different because I say stop voting Democrat. Okay, if we stop voting for the Democrat, first off, why do you think all black people are monolithic where we just vote for Democrats because the next black person said it? Why can't we as a black community look at the Democratic policies and say, hey, we like their policies better than we like the Republican policies? Why can't we be? Why do people think we're so dumb that we can't look at the Democrats and say, hey, you know what? The Democrats haven't done a lot to help us because we still in the racial wealth graph has grown over the last 30, 40 years. And we still have mass incarceration and they didn't do shit about it in the last 8 years when Obama was in office to change it. Although he tried, I felt like they could have pushed harder to do some, at least do some executive orders or something to release some people to get some things done and to do something about prison reform. And those things went on. But when you look at the policies overall, Republican policies don't help most of our community. They just don't. But you want us to vote. You're going to try to shame us into voting for the other side just by trying to call us stupid. But then you have white people who are poor who vote Republican, and just like voting, it's just like somebody telling you, like, if when you vote for me, I'm gonna shoot you in your head, and this other person saying, when you vote for me, I'm gonna give you a house and food. And the white poor Republicans are voting for the person that's saying they're gonna shoot him in the head. We can't let people like Kanye West confuse us and divide us. Because he'll do it. Because half the people are like, well, Kanye do got a point. No, he doesn't have a point. He's a fucking idiot. He doesn't even research or read. He said it. He didn't make one good point. Nipsey had it right. I hate this man lost his life. I hate he left 2 kids behind and a girlfriend. I hate that shit. Because I feel like he had 40 more years to give us. 40 to 45 more years to give us. And his shit would have just grown. Because if you would notice in the last 2 years, he had started building his network like crazy. He was doing things with LeBron. He was doing things with Chris Paul. He was doing things with Steph Curry and KD out of Silicon Valley. He was already talking about how he was partnering with a billionaire real estate mogul to do some things. So he was building his network. So he would eventually gotten to that level where he could do things to not only just affect Crenshaw and his community, but to affect a large community, maybe most of LA, California, maybe to reach across the United States. He was getting there, but his life was cut short. He can't do it anymore. So now we need somebody else to pick up the bag. And picking up the bag ain't giving out one thing and saying, hey, you know, I gave back or I donated some money. No, it's doing what he did. When the rubber meets the road, he was there doing things. And if those athletes do that and not sit in their mansions and not, you know, just think about the jury and the girls and the big booty Instagram models they're going to be kicking it with, and not saying you can't do those things. Because if I was a single guy and I had that opportunity, I know I would be doing the same thing. So I'm not here to be a hypocrite. But you also got to think about the people around you. And I hate to hear, you know, people with powerful platforms like the Breakfast Club and Hot 97 say, well, black people doing good. Like, no, don't put that out there. Because if you start thinking you're doing good, then you're going to slack up. But when you think you're doing good and you're really doing bad, you're really in a bad situation. And that's kind of where I feel we are right now. So I just want to take this opportunity to take what Nipsey Hussle was doing, his blueprint, and put it out there how, from a sports side, how athletes can use their reach to make our community stronger, better, and help become one component in the turnaround. We've been here for 400 years. It was 400 years this year when the first slave touched ground in the United States soil, 1619. He wasn't going to let anybody tell him that he couldn't rebuild his community, he couldn't help out his community. He just did it. And that's why I appreciate that guy. And, condolences to his family. His soul rest in peace. I think the blueprint he put out, his name will live on forever. All of us are here because when we die, we want our name to live on through our kids, through family members, through friends, through family. And, I saw somebody post on Facebook today talking about how, nobody was talking about him when he was alive and now he dead. Everybody want to act like he's something. That's what the hell you want. I just hate to see stupid shit like that. What we talking about with him and his death shows the work he did in his 33 years on this earth. There's nothing wrong with that. That's how it should be. When you die, your work should speak for itself. And his work is speaking for itself. I heard so many people say, hey, I went back and listened to some of, Nipsey Hussle mixtape. Man, he had some nice music, man. I like this. I like that song. I had a co-worker at work that said today, like, man, I went and listened to a couple of Nipsey Hussle albums, and man, he had a tight. So now he's known. And yeah, you want to be known while you're alive. That would be nice for everybody. This is one of my favorite Nipsey songs, like on his latest album. Play a little bit of it. Hopefully I don't get in trouble by playing this thing. They don't take my video down. But yeah, this is my favorite one on this album that I listen to that I like.
Right now, motherfucker, let's go. Yeah, what can make a nigga wanna go and get it? Said he wanna Beamer with the subs in it. Said he grew up in a house and it was love missing. Said he grew up in the city, keep his gun with him. Young nigga, let's go. Young nigga, and he don't need a reason, he a young nigga. And you don't want your daughter or your sons with him. Young nigga, let's go. Young nigga. Probably never understand him till he pull up in the Phantom. When he pull up in the Phantom, he gon' have that shit blasted. That's right.
So once again, thank you guys for listening. Go check out some of Nipsey's music. Go stream it. He owned everything. He owned all his masters. So when you buy a song of Apple Music, iTunes, when you stream it on Tidal and other platforms, that money's going straight to Nipsey's family, his kids, his fiance, his parents, his brother. So they're going to benefit from that. It's not going to some record label like other people that die. It's going to him. You go to his website, the Marathon Clothing, purchase a hat, purchase a shirt, that's his. It's going to his family. So if you agree with what I said about Nipsey creating a blueprint, and a lot of people have created the blueprint, but he actually walked it, and you agree with it, go support the man. Because when you support him, he was an owner. He wasn't somebody that was bought and sold like a slave. He was an owner. So you're putting money into his family pocket, and you support his legacy. With that, I hope you guys like this. I hope you listen to it. I hope you agree with it. Thank you for listening to the PvR Sports Podcast. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch new episodes and PvR clips. Like our Facebook page and share with your friends if you enjoyed this podcast. As we say in the South, catch you later.